This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
Sunday morning. Well, what's going on in New Hampshire? Well, let's go to New Hampshire. We have Senator John Sununu there, and he's running for re-election, and he's been busy working hard for the last 10 years, and he wants to go back to Washington to help America have common sense. Well, Senator, tell us your feelings on a Sunday morning about what's going on.
Well, John, great to be with you. Good morning and happy Father's Day. You talk about common sense, trying to get a little bit of common sense back in Washington, get some practical experience there. Happy Father's Day to my dad. He had a very a great expression. He would tell people, "I'm going to die an old engineer, not an old politician." He's still with us, but I have always taken that to heart. I'm running after being in the private sector for over 15 years because we need people that understand how the economy works in Washington. We need people who can solve problems. That's what my engineering background is all about. Too many career politicians spend all their time in Washington worrying about getting their next job. And, I'm at the point in my life where I've enjoyed my work in the private sector. I've served in the House and Senate, and I know when I go back to Washington as a U.S. Senator, all I have to do is stand up for New Hampshire, right? Whatever's right for my state and our country is what's going to guide me. And that's a really exciting place to be in politics.
I agree with you 100%. And right now, we need common sense in America. There's a lot of common sense Democrats. There's a lot of common sense independents. And there's a lot of common sense Republicans. We all have to work together to make sure our country doesn't go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think the liberals in Washington go wrong when they just start following their leadership blindly. And in New Hampshire, that's what I'm running against. My opponent in the general election is someone who supported a $1,200 taxpayer benefit for illegal immigrants. 3 weeks ago, he voted for a national car tax. He's against voter ID, just out of touch with where people in New Hampshire are. And I point out to people all the time, when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker, Chris Pappas, my general election opponent, voted with her 222 out of 223 possible recorded votes. That's a rubber stamp. I think they're fond of using the phrase sock puppet, for the left wing, and it's just not New Hampshire, right? It might be California, but it's not New Hampshire.
I understood. And we need more common sense. I don't understand how some of the Democrats are against, for instance, President Trump shooting down those drug boats that are coming in, drugging our kids. I mean, the reason I'm working so hard, I'm 77 years old, and Trump is 80 years old, and I was joking about it with him the other day, is because we want a better life for our kids and our grandkids. And we got to get rid of these drug addicts, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, nothing can be more important than protecting our cities, our towns, public safety, and that is absolutely part of the equation. Securing the borders is such an important part of the equation. Think about 2.5, 3 years ago, the borders were chaos. Tens of thousands of people coming across illegally, suffering. I mean, a real human tragedy. And the left wing said, we can't do anything about it, right? We cannot do anything about it without some big, expensive piece of legislation. The president proved them wrong. We've got secure borders for the first time in decades. And the murder rate, the homicide rate in this country is lower than it's been in over 100 years. So that public safety, fighting drugs, securing our borders, supporting law enforcement at the local level.
And we got to get rid of fraud too. I mean, fraud. You know, people are estimating the $2 trillion deficit we have. That half of that is fraud.
Yeah. So it's incredible, and credit to the administration for exposing what went on in California, what's going on in Minnesota. Hundreds of billions of dollars, right? It looks like every year, and that our debt, $39 trillion in debt, that's the biggest economic risk we face over the next 10 years. We've got to get rid of the fraud, got to cut the deficit, and controlling that spending, right? Dealing with this out of control fraud is the only way to balance a budget. You don't balance a budget by just jacking up taxes. If that was the case, then your state of New York and California would have the best, cleanest, most solid budgets in the country, and they don't. Right? You just can't do it by jacking up taxes. You got to control the spending, and fraud is the first place we should start.
I agree with you 100%. Anything else you want to say to the American people? We got the whole country listening to us right now.
Look, this is an election about the future. And it's about leadership, and it's about how we deal with the tough challenges of the economy and affordability over the next couple of years. But when President Trump leaves office, it's going to leave a big vacuum, and that's got to be filled with new leaders, new ideas, new priorities. One of the reasons this election is so important to me because I want to be part of that future. I want to help shape the direction that the country goes in. Keeping the economy strong, the border secure, keeping our energy dominance here in the U.S. We can't go back to the chaos of 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm determined to take the country and the state of New Hampshire in the right direction.
John Sununu, thank you. Your family has done a great job for our country, and your father and your brother, and keep fighting for America. And we stand by your side, and get the common sense Democrats to vote for you, get the common sense independents to vote for you. And if I lived there, I would vote for you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, John. Great to be with you.